And I looked, and saw a pale horse, and upon that horse was a man, and his name was Death. Good morning, everybody. My name is Louis Vuitton, and thank you for stopping by. It's actually appropriate to say good morning because it is morning where both I am and you are. It's currently 12:30 a.m. over where I am. I was up this late anyway, and I streamed about this time the other night as well, and I had a great time, so I thought, I'm up this late anyway. I have some energy, so let's do it. Why not? Why not? We had a great stream the other night when I did stream, well outside the time that I'm normally awake, 12:30 to 4 a.m. Oh well. So hey, if it works out to be that I, can have as good a stream as that one, then I will not complain. Because hey, the thing about being an Australian streamer is that it is a little bit hard to get into the market because, most of the communities are oriented around America and not really much down here in Australia. So hey, if you enjoy the content, it would mean a whole lot if you would chuck me a follow, jump over to YouTube and subscribe to me there. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord to the link down below, and hey, as you can see, we have our daily dono goal to buy me a pizza. If you have anything just lying around, then, wouldn't be so bad if you would chuck something my way. Speaking of which, let me post the link. So yeah, let me open the stream by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which I'm coming to you, live from, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Welcome many Indigenous people joining us today. Alright. All set up on my phone. So, let's get a little bit comfy. I was wondering, as the name would suggest, it's my birthday today, and I was given this book for my birthday, titled Religion and the Rise of Capitalism, and about how the two intersect. Because it's interesting to consider, because this is something that I've studied myself at university, how we talk about the rise in religious movements, so like the Calvinists, the Protestants, Lutherans, the different kind of religions that crop up, and about how they relate to capitalism. So, I don't want to get too into theory, but you never know. I do like to read, and I do like to read to other people, so hey, you never know. Wow, 1937. When was this originally? What edition is this? So it was originally published in 1937. And when is this edition from? It's an old book. Whatever the world thinks, he who hath not much meditated upon God, the human mind, and the summum bonum may possibly make a thriving earthworm, but most indubitably make a sorry patriot and a sorry statesman. It's Bishop Berkeley. Fuck you. Here we are. So, first edition, 1926. Reprinted in March 1940, August 1938. That's 48. Is it really that old? It can't be that old. No way. No chance. It might be. Interesting. Well, we might take a look at a bit of that. Look at that a little bit later. Interesting. All right. Well, in the meantime, my eyes are feeling a bit sore, but I think that's less to do with being sleepy and more to do with cats. So yeah. Oh, excuse me. Last time I did one of these late streams, I had a couple of energy drinks. Did I have both? I had at least one, alright? And it definitely helped out. Definitely gave me that boost I needed. So, hey. Did I... Wait. No, I did stream this morning. Can't remember what I talked about. I don't know. It probably wasn't important. Oh, that's right. Pain on the internet. Yes. Plenty of that going around. Let me see. Oh, no, I didn't. Shut up. Idiot. I wasn't talking to you. Anyway. Let's have a read. Let's start it off. Might as well. So. Okay, maybe it is from 1948 because apparently it costs 1 shilling and 6pence. Alright. Well, let's get comfy. So, Religion and the Rise of Capitalism by R. H. Tawney. Richard Henry Tawney, an honorary doctor of the Universities of Manchester, Paris, and Chicago, and an honorary fellow of Balliol College, Oxford, and Peterhouse, Cambridge, was educated at Rugby and Balliol. During the Great War, he served in the army as an NCO. He was a teacher of classes organised by the Workers' Education Association in Lancaster and North Staffordshire, and was for 16 years president of the association, of which he is now vice president. He served on the Sankey Cole Commission, the there's a price sticker stuck over it, which has torn off some of the blurb. I'm going to check the Constitutional Committee of the Board of Education, the Education Commission of the LCC, and the University something committee, of the last of which he remains a member. He is Professor of Economic History at the School of Economics and Political Science, University of London. His published works include, in addition to numerous articles, The Agrarian Problem of the 16th Century, The Acquisitive Society, Secondary Education for All, Education, the Socialist Policy, Equality, Land and Labour in China, English Economic History, Select Documents with A.E. Bland and P.A. Brown, and Tudor Economic Documents with Eileen Power. Interesting. Education for All. Wow, my. What a filthy pinko. Let's see. So, about the book. Religion and the Rise of Capitalism is a study of religious thought on social issues during the 3 centuries, from the later Middle Ages to the early 18th century. Starting with an account of medieval theories of social ethics, it goes on to examine the impact on traditional doctrines of the new forces released by the economic and political changes of the age of the Reformation. The social backgrounds and teaching of Luther, Calvin, and the English divines from Latimer to Laud receive attention in turn. A chapter on the Puritan movement discusses, among other topics, the theory that capitalism had Puritanism as one of its parents. The conclusion reached by the author at the end of his survey is that the criticism which dismisses the concern of churches with economic relation and social organization as a modern innovation finds little support in past history. What requires explanation is not the view that these matters are part of the province of religion, but the view that they are not. While the book is primarily concerned with changes in the world of thought, it is not confined to them. Holding that theories, in order to be understood, must be read in the light of the practical realities which help to produce them, it devotes part of its space to a consideration of the latter. It attempts to explain the conditions which gave point to prohibitions of usury and to the insistence of a just price. Describes the social consequences of the Tudor land question and touches on the impetus to social speculation given by the price revolution, the expansion of foreign commerce, and the growth of the money market. My. And this previously belonged to Anne Davy, I believe. and it's dated 1953. Wow, Anne. And this... no, that's not the... Somebody else has written something else in here, but is it university? Maybe. University... something college. Good lord. How do people read this handwriting? Well, okay. Let's see. So, first published in, I believe it was 1922. Ooh. Excuse me. Dedicated to Dr. Charles Gore, with affection and gratitude. And here's that quote that I read out earlier, which I'll read again. Whatever the world thinks, he who hath not much meditated upon God, the human mind, and the summum bonum, may possibly make a thriving earthworm, but will most indubitably make a sorry patriot and a sorry statesman. Well, Bishop Berkeley, I disagree. Now, how long is the preface? Because I always... usually prefaces are so boring. Oh, good lord. No. Oh, no. No. We will forget the preface. Okay. So, let's start. Introduction. I need some better light here. But if I go over here, then how am I framed if I sit back like this? Oh, that's okay. It's perfect framing, actually. Let me bring this a little closer. Excuse me. Wrong button. Okay. Oh wait, hang on. How is it? Let me check how it's set. Ah, perfect. All right. So, introduction. This book is based on a series of lectures on religious thought on social questions in the 16th and 17th century, which were delivered at King's College, London, for the Holland Foundation in March and April 1922. It does not carry this subject beyond the latter part of the 17th century, and it makes no pretense of dealing with the history of either economic theory or of economic organization, except in so far as changes in theory and organization are related to changes in religious opinion. Having been prevented by circumstances from publishing the lectures immediately, I have taken advantage of the delay to rewrite part of them, with the addition of some matter which could not be easily included in them in the original form. I must thank my fellow trustees for their indulgence in allowing me to postpone publication. The development of religious opinion on questions of social ethics is a topic which has been treated in England by the late Dr. Cunningham, by Sir William Ashley, whose essay on the canonist doctrine first interested me in the subject, by Mr. G. G. Coulton, Mr. H. G. Wood, and Mr. G. O'Brien. But it is no reflection on their work to say that the most important contributions of recent years have come from continental students, in particular Troels, Choisy, Sombart, Brentano, Levy, and above all, Max Weber, whose celebrated articles on... whose celebrated articles on Die Protestantische Ethik und der Geist des Kapitalismus. Thanks, Weber. Gave a new turn to the discussion. No one can work, on however humble a scale in the same field, without being conscious of the heavy obligation under which these scholars have laid him. While I have not always been able to accept their conclusions, lost my paint, I am glad to have this opportunity of expressing my indebtedness to them. I regret that Mr. Coulton's The Medieval Village appeared too late for me to make use of its abundant stories of learning and insight. It only remains for me to thank the friends whose assistance has enabled me to make this book somewhat less imperfect than it would otherwise have been. Mr. J. L. Hammond, Dr. E. Power, and Mr. A. P. Wadsworth have been kind enough to read and to improve the manuscript. Professor J. E. Neal, in addition to reading the proofs, has helped me most generously throughout with advice and criticism. I am deeply indebted both to Miss Buckley, who has undertaken the thankless task of correcting the proofs and making an index, and to the London School of Economics and the Laura Spillman Rockefeller Memorial Fund for enabling me to make use of their services. My obligation to the help given by my wife is beyond acknowledgement. R. H. Tawney. Religion and the Rise of Capitalism. Chapter 1. The Medieval Background. Oh no, there's something written in French, goddammit. La miséricorde de Dieu est infinie. Elle s'avère moment en riche. Yeah, well, the gravitas of that quote is somewhat lost upon me when I can't understand what it's saying. I must begin these lectures with an apology. Their subject is historical. It is the attitude of religious thought in England towards social organisation and economic issues in the period immediately following the Reformation, and in the 2 centuries which follow it. Canon Scott Holland was at once a prophet and a theologian. The most suitable beginning for a foundation established to commemorate him would have been either an examination of the spiritual problems concealed behind the economic mechanism of our society, or a philosophical discussion of the contribution which religion can make to their solution. Discretion compels one who is competent neither to inspire to action, nor to expound a system, to refrain from meddling with these high matters. I have therefore chosen the humbler task of trying to give an account of the history of opinion during one critical period, but I do so with the consciousness that the choice is due less to any special appropriateness on the part of the subject, than to the inability of the lecturer to attempt any other. I would not, however, excuse the selection merely by my own capacity to do justice to a topic of mere immediate moment, thanks largely to Canon Scott Holland, and to those who worked with him. The conception of the scope and content of Christian ethics, which was generally, no not universally, accepted in the 19th century, is undergoing a revision, and in that revision the appeal to the experience of mankind, which is history, has played some part and will play a larger one. There have been periods in which a tacit agreement, accepted in practice, if not stated in theory, excluded economic activities and social institutions from examination or criticism in the light of religion. A statesman of the early 19th century, whose conception of the relations of church and state appears to have been modelled on those of Mr. Collins and Lady Catherine de Bourgh, is said to have crushed a clerical reformer with the protest: "Things have come to a pretty pass if religion is going to interfere with private life," and a more recent occupant to his office has explained the catastrophe which must follow if the Church crosses the Rubicon which divides the outlying provinces of the spirit from the secular capital of public affairs. That was a really long sentence. That was all one sentence, from a statement of the early 19th century down to secular capital of public affairs. That was all one sentence. Whatever the merit of these aphorisms, it is evident today that the line of division between the spheres of religion and secular business, which they assume as self-evident, is shifting. By common consent, the Treaty of Partition has collapsed and the boundaries are once more in motion. The age of which no romantic admirer of ecclesiastic pretensions could write, with perhaps exaggerated severity, that the spokesmen of religion leave the present world to the men of business and the devil, shows some signs of drawing to a close, rightly or wrongly, with wisdom or with its opposite, not only in England, but on the continent and in America, not only in one denomination, but among Roman Catholics, Anglicans, and Nonconformists. An attempt is being made to restate the practical implications of the social ethics of the Christian faith, in a form sufficiently comprehensive to provide a standard by which to judge the collective actions and institutions of mankind in the sphere both of international politics and of social organization. It is being made today. It has been made in the past. Whether it will result in any new synthesis, whether in the future at some point pushed farther into the tough world of practical affairs, men will say, "Here nature first begins, her farthest verge, and chaos to retire, as from her outmost works, a broken foe," will not be known by this generation. What is certain is that, as in the analogous problem of the relations between church and state, issues which were thought to have been buried by the discretion of centuries have shown in our own day that they were not dead, but sleeping. To examine the forms which they have assumed and the phases through which they have passed, even in the narrow field of a single country and a limited period, is not mere antiquarianism. Assume as in like antique. Not antiquity, and antiquarianism. It is to summon the living, not to invoke a corpse, and to see from a new angle the problems of our own age, by widening the experience brought to their consideration. Oh dear! Oh, doing all this talking is actually making me feel pretty sleepy. Which says a lot about this book. Alright, let me have another crack at it. There we go. In such an examination, the 16th and 17th centuries are obviously a critical period. Dr. Figgis has described the secularization of political theory as the most momentous of the intellectual changes which ushered in the modern world. It is not less the revolutionary, because it was only gradually that its full consequences became apparent, so that seeds which were sown before the Reformation yielded their fruit in England only after the Civil War. The political aspects of the transformation are familiar. The theological mold which shaped political theory from the Middle Ages to the 17th century is broken. Politics becomes a science, ultimately a group of sciences. The theology, at best, one science among others. Reason takes the place of revelation, and the criterion of political institutions is expediency, not religious authority. Religion, ceasing to be the master interest of mankind, dwindles into a department of life with boundaries, which it is extravagant to overstep. The ground which it vacates is occupied by a new institution, armed with a novel doctrine. If the Church of the Middle Ages was a kind of state, the state of the Tudors had some of the characteristics of a church, and it was precisely the impossibility for all but a handful of sectaries, of conceiving a society which treated religion as a thing privately vital but publicly indifferent, which in England made inconceivable the quarrel between Puritanism and the monarchy. When the mass had been heated in the furnace of the Civil War, its component parts were ready to be disengaged from each other. By the end of the 17th century, and the secular state, separate from the churches, which is subordinate to it, has emerged from the theory which had regarded both as dual aspects of a single society. The former pays a shadowy deference to religion. The latter does not meddle with the external fabric of the political and social system, which is the concern of the former. The age of religious struggles virtually ends with the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. The age of the wars of economic nationalism virtually begins with the war between England and Holland under the Commonwealth and Charles II, the state. Under the Commonwealth and Charles II. This state, first in England, then in France and America, finds its sanction not in religion but in nature, in a presumed contract to establish it, in the necessity for mutual protection and the convenience of mutual assistance. It appeals to no supernatural commission, but exists to protect individuals in the enjoyment of those absolute rights which are vested in them by the immutable laws of nature. The great and chief end of men uniting into commonwealths and putting themselves under government is the preservation of their property. While the political significance of this development has often been described, the analogous changes in social and economic thought have received less attention. These were, however, momentous and deserve consideration. The emergence of an objective and passionless economic science took place more slowly than the corresponding movement in the theory of the state, because the issues were less absorbing. While one marched in the highlights of the open stage, the other lurked on the back stairs and in the wings. It was not till a century after Machiavelli had emancipated the state from religion that the doctrine of the self-contained department with laws of its own begins generally to be applied to the world of business relations, and even in the England and the early 17th century, to discuss questions of economic organization purely in terms of pecuniary profit and loss still wears an air of not quite reputable cynicism. Far out. When you write a sentence, usually, depending on the sentence, but usually you don't want to go over 27 words. 27 words is really the hard limit for a sentence. It can go over, sure, but the more words over 27 you go, that's when a sentence starts to feel long. As a soft rule and soft borderline hard rule, 27 words. Excuse me. And this guy is just fuck that, whole paragraph, one sentence. I can put in as many commas as I want. If you're just joining us now, we are reading the first chapter of Religion and the Rise of Capitalism by R.H. Tawney. And hey, if you've just joined the stream now, then you should chuck me a follow. Because hey, what's the point of hanging out in the chat if you're not going to follow? Seriously, come on. You're watching a streamer, but you're not following? Let's continue. Oh, there we are. Uh-oh, where were we? Cynicism. When the 16th century opens, not only political but social theory is saturated with doctrines drawn from the sphere of ethics and religion, and economic phenomena are expressed in terms of personal conduct, as naturally and inevitably as the 19th century expressed these in terms of mechanism. I promise it's not the book, it's 1 AM here, so, and I don't normally stream this late, I'm not normally awake this late. Not the least fundamental of divisions among theories of society is between those which regard the world of human affairs as self-contained, and those which appeal to a supernatural criterion. Modern social theory, like modern political theory, developed only when society was given a naturalistic instead of religious explanation, and the rise of both was largely due to a changed conception of the nature and functions of a church. The crucial period is the 16th and 17th century. The most important arena, apart from Holland, is England, because it is England with its new geographical position as the entrepot between England and America, between Europe and America, its achievement of internal economic unity, 2 centuries before France and 2.5 centuries before Germany, its constitutional revolution, and its powerful bourgeois of banker, shipowners, and merchants, that the transformation of the structure of society is earliest, swiftest, and most complete. Its essence is the secularization of social and economic philosophy. The synthesis is resolved into its elements: politics, business, and spiritual exercises. Each assumes a separate and independent vitality and obeys the laws of its own being. The social functions matured within the church and long identified with it are transferred to the state, which in turn is idolized as the dispenser of prosperity and the guardian of civilization. The theory of a hierarchy of... No! Get out of here! What did I even say? Theory? Civilization. Come on, civilization's going to set her off? Get out of here. Oops. Let me close this and open it again. Sorry, let me just bring up the stream. I have to watch the stream on my phone, alright? There we go. Alright. Where were we? I was being interrupted. Civilization. The theory of a hierarchy... The theory of a hierarchy of... What the... Stop! What the hell? Oh, I can't read theory? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Siri's onto me. She's like, I heard you were reading theory. We don't like leftists reading theory around here. Stop! Like, what the... Okay, so, I'm sorry. Like, the theory of a hierarchy of values, and that sets her off? Come on! Alright. Hierarchy of values. Embracing all human interests and activities in a system of which the apex is religion is replaced by the conception of separate and parallel compartments between which a due balance should be maintained, but which have no vital connection with each other. The intellectual movement is, of course, very gradual and is compatible with both throwbacks and precocities, which seem to refute its general character. It is easy to detect premonitions of the coming philosophy in the later Middle Age, and reversions to an earlier manner at the very end of the 17th century. Oresme in the 14th century can anticipate the monetary theory associated with the name of Gershon. In the 15th century, Laurentus de Rodolphus can distinguish between trade bills and finance bills. And St. Antonio can describe the significance of capital, while Baxter in 1673 can write a Christian directory in the style of a medieval Summa, and Bunyan in 1680 can dissect the economic iniquities of Mr. Badman, who ground the poor with high prices and usury in the manner of a medieval friar. But the distance traversed in the 2 centuries between 1500 and 1700 is nevertheless immense. Hey, hey! Baduism? Thank you for the follow. We are, unfortunately, punishing ourselves today by actually learning some theory. This is an old book from 1922, believe it or not, titled Religion and the Rise of Capitalism by R.H. Tawney. Right now we're on chapter 1, which is the medieval background. So it's basically looking in on how religion has influenced capitalism through, you know, the Lutheran, the Protestant movement, etc. My schedule is wild? Absolutely. I mean, it's 1 a.m. where I am here as well, alright? I was up this late, and I thought, fuck it, like, I'm up this late anyway, I might as well stream. The other day, I streamed from 12:30 to 4 a.m., and it was actually a really banger stream. I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun with the chat. It kind of sucks, though, because it was 12:30 to 4 a.m. So I would really like to not have to stream during that time to, you know, actually have a good one. But here we are. So, you know, like I said, I was up this late anyway, so might as well. Anyway. But the distance traversed in the 2 centuries between 1500 and 1700 is nevertheless immense. At the earlier date, though economic rationalism has proceeded far in Italy, the typical economic systems are those of the schoolman. The typical popular teaching is that of the sermon, or of manuals such as Dives et Pauper. Dive et Pauper. The typical appeal in difficult cases of conscience is to the Bible, the Fathers, the canon law, and its interpreters. The typical controversy is carried on in terms of morality and religion as regularly and inevitably as 2 centuries later it is conducted in terms of economic expediency. So this is basically going over how after the Reformation the presence of religion as the dominant force became, if not superseded by economics, at least on par with economics. It is not necessary to point out the age of to point out that the age of Henry VIII and Thomas Cromwell had nothing to learn from the 20th century as to the niceties of political intrigue or commercial sharp practice. But a cynical unscrupulousness in high places is not incompatible with the general belief in the validity of moral standards, which are contradicted by it. No one can read the discussions which took place between 1500 and 1550 on 3 burning issues: the rise in prices, capital and interest, and the land question in England, without being struck by the constant appeal from the new and clamorous economic interests of the day to the traditional Christian morality, which, in social organization, as in the relations of individuals, is still conceived to be the final authority. It is because it is regarded as the final authority that the officers of the Church claim to be heard on questions of social policy, and that, however Catholics, Anglicans, Lutherans, and Calvinists may differ on doctrine or ecclesiastical government, Luther and Calvin, Latimer and Laud, John Knox, and the Pilgrim Fathers are agreed that social morality is the province of the Church, and are prepared both to teach it and to enforce it, when necessary, by suitable discipline. I wish I had that. I was on YouTube earlier, and there was this out of context clip of Philosophy Tube, and it was something like it was like the quote from her was something like, "You've been bad and you deserve to be punished," and then she laughs like someone's going to clip that out of context, which of course they did. And I was thinking, like, oh, I have to download the audio for that because that'll make a great drop. I would love to have like a soundboard and have one of those set up, ready to go, with Philosophy Tube telling someone that they've been bad and that they deserve to be punished, because it would have worked perfectly after reading that line. I'll get on it, alright? This is rather dry. I see why nobody reads theory. And this isn't even leftist theory. Although apparently I've heard that I don't know, it might be Atlas Shrugged might be interesting, because I've heard that Ayn Rand was a bit kinky, and that she was quite the sub, and that really translated into Atlas Shrugged, and apparently reading it kind of feels like she just wants somebody to dom her. I don't know, that could make it a bit more fun. Fuck me, how long is this? How long is this first chapter? I was like, oh, maybe I'll just read the first chapter. I'm like 50 pages in, so what page am I on now? Well, I've already read 23 pages. That's not bad. Oh, we started at 17. Okay, we've read 6. Let me go to the contents. Jesus. Whew. Is there somewhere where we can stop? Not for another few pages. Okay, we might call it there. Okay, well that was interesting. I don't know how much more of that I'm going to read on stream because it is pretty dry. But hey, it's good to learn some theory, especially if you're on the left. It's very important to understand theories around capitalism. It's quite ignorant to simply dismiss, theories around capitalism simply because capitalism grows. Marx was very famous and very well known for having a very thorough understanding of capitalism. That's why he wrote what he did. Marx had a better understanding of capitalism than most capitalists of his time and even now. So, yes, while theory is very dry, you know, well, this isn't so much even theory, really. This isn't theory. This is more history. History is interesting because this is more about how religion played a role in the rise of capitalism. And as I was talking about earlier, there was a huge role in how the post-Reformation religions played a part in driving the engine of capitalism. Like Protestantism was really important. Like that's where a lot of this idea of like the ideal of like American exceptionalism and American individualism really got its start first in Protestantism. That's why you have like the bootstraps ideal. That's very much a Protestant belief, that you need to constantly be working, that every moment that you don't that you're not working is a moment wasted. Benjamin Franklin said that, I can't remember the exact quotes, but he basically said that basically every moment that you have available to you that you're not working is money wasted. Which, I mean, like, I'm not exactly a fan of that, but anyway, the point is not to like it, the point is to understand it, and especially learning the history of something, in particular religion and capitalism, which, of course, tie very strongly if you're examining America, which, I mean, hey, like, it's 1 a.m. for me, I'm streaming for the Americans, not for the Australians right now. It's interesting to learn it, to try and understand, in a sociological sense, where these kind of attitudes come from, where there's ideals of rampant industrialization and rampant entrepreneurship, where these ideals come from. Work. Because like if you haven't been following, what the introduction was just talking about was about how religion was firmly maintaining its position as the social arbiters, while now we have new institutions which cover economics. So what I'm trying to say is that this is important because we can, as one aspect when you look at sociological phenomena, is to examine the historical context. So how did we get to this point? So we can't understand culture, community, attitudes, people in America today if we don't understand how history has influenced those attitudes today, how they got from one point in history to the point they are at now. So yeah, oh god, oh excuse me, I am feeling a little sleepy. Let me talk a little briefly about. So I've been like, okay, so look, today and tomorrow I will be working on a new video. Like, see, I've been saying it for like a week now, but look, I'm not bullshitting. Here's my notes. Once I'm done with the notes, then I will start the script. This is like a plan of the structure of everything I want to cover, the order I want to do it in. Then I go off the script. Then that's all of the pre-production side of things, and then go for filming, and then editing and whatnot. This one's going to take a lot of editing, because I'm going to be splicing in, no spoilers, but I'm going to be splicing in a lot of videos, a lot of video footage, and pictures. So, that is going to be a pain, but it will be worth it. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really excited about this project. It's, I have spoiled a little bit. It's going to be on the subject of masculinity. But yeah, I'm really excited for what the finished product is going to look like. And after that, I promise that I will finish getting the Amazon video set up and then get that one out, alright? I've been talking about the Amazon video for months now, probably even since before I had that big streaming breaker because of term. So yeah, all right. I promise I'll do the Amazon one next. I wanted to, like, I have like, there's some aesthetic change that I have to do for the Amazon one. So I want to do the masculinity one first, so that the aesthetic change is only there for the Amazon one and not for the masculinity one. All right. I want to film the masculinity one looking like this. So I'll do it after. All right. Oh, excuse me. Oh, we're almost on the hour mark. Did we do it? Did we learn theory? Are we ready to throw down and debate neoliberals? Come at me, Bastiat. Who's live right now? Critics. CTV's live. I don't know. Should we raid into CTV? Could. I don't know. I do have. Oh, I could. I could cover it tomorrow. I don't know. I'm very tired. I don't know if I'll stream tomorrow morning. Oh, excuse me. I might just stream tomorrow evening, which is lazy. I know. But I'm very tired. And, you know, as the title would suggest, it was my birthday today, so I'm ready to go to bed. I'm ready to sleep. Fresh sheets on my bed. Ready to fall in. Ouch. Alright. Thank you all very much for your attendance. Thank you all for tuning in. It means a lot. I love you all. And please, join your union. Actually, no, not please. Just do it, alright? I'm no longer asking. Join your union. Alright. Good night. Oops. Hang on. Wait. There we go.